So we were going through the courage of the heart. Was it courage of the heart? Yeah. And then, so now today we are going to read about conditions experienced at fourth chakra. What conditions possibly we experience at fourth chakra? So we're going to read that. As explained earlier, the reassurance from the heart and growing courage are hallmarks of this chakra. Discerning inner changes can be tricky because qualities don't develop in isolation. As you know, as you grow in courage, you may also become more loving, peaceful, and content. The other chakra are also blossoming, and so their qualities are also growing. At the same time, the opposite qualities also express themselves in your behavior, creating a signals and noise. It's like finding Waldo, but now you have more context and understanding. Regular journaling helps in keeping track of inner changes. The sections below will help you understand more about qualities and experiences at the fourth chakra. But how do these qualities express in a day-to-day life? So why, when the courage, we may also becoming more loving, peaceful, and content? One is because the other chakras below four are also growing, which are these qualities. But at the same time, if you understand courage, the courage brings you to the present. Because now the courage is not about thinking about a situation which is going to projected in the future and then worried about it. When the courage is there, that worry goes away. When the worry is not there about the future, and we are not carrying our past into the future and present, courage brings a lot of peace and contentment. So that's why courage is not bravery. Courage is more than bravery. Lot of courage is required to face this life. And life is full of situations, things are changing all the time. Even physically, they say, after 7 years, physically, one is a different person than before 7 years. So, what we were before, every 7 years, we are changing physiologically, correct? Our entire cells are replaced. So, the change is inevitable at every level. But somehow, we resist change to life or even spiritual conditions, we resist without realizing. In fact, uh, you know, uh, one of the teachers have said, the even when you are giving sessions to people, the anonymous sittings are more effective. See, all the trainers are supposedly, like whoever the trainer is interacting with, they have to make a schedule and give sittings anonymously. And he said the anonymous sittings are more effective than the one-on-one in-person sittings. He said that because we resist change. That's the human fallacy, you can call it. We resist change. Because we resist change, we hold on to our present situation. How much ever struggling and tormenting it is, we hold on to the current situation. And that's why we cannot change. Because we cannot change, whoever is speaking to our current condition appeals more. Okay. So when we have the courage, we can welcome change. That is one of the most important aspects of being in courage. In courage, we we don't resist change. When we don't resist change and we are allowing the change, the discernment or the conditions as it is changing, we can also observe it better. Of course, always the regular journaling helps. And understand any knowing of the spiritual condition is because there is a contrast. And because we are not practicing as regularly and as prescribed, these changes happen at a very slow pace. When changes happen at a slow pace, you don't notice them. And suppose if I move to one condition and if I stay there for after 2 minutes or 3 minutes of being in that condition, that becomes my natural state. And I cannot recognize that condition unless if I can compare with my previous condition versus the current state. And as I am changing into the future state, this change only makes us know. So any cognition is by contrast. So that's why it's very difficult for people to know there's not much change is happening. They complain all the time. The reason the changes are happening slow, as you are changing, that becomes your normal state. There's no contrast for us to observe. That's why when we come for these meditations, when the transmission is given in the group sessions, sort of that condition becomes more evident. What transmission does is it makes your inner condition more evident. That's the effect of the transmission. So as this inner condition is becoming more and more evident, that kind of creates interest and also the understanding of this spiritual journey. And for us to kind of move and realize this condition, regular journaling is very essential. If I don't journal my meditation, you know that Chinese proverb, if if there is a tree fell in the forest, if no one heard it, no tree fell. So if we don't journal our condition meditations, that meditation is lost forever. That is the importance of journaling. So make sure, I mean, kind of keep start. Even, I am not very regular personally in my journal, let me confess. But whenever I feel, some conditions change in the conditions, I make a note of it in my journal so that you kind of absorb that condition and then you are ready for the next condition. So that is the importance of journaling or the psychology behind journaling. All right. So I'll pause here for any questions before reading further or comments. Okay. So flexibility and flow. Flexibility is one of the hallmarks of this chakra. Like I said, the courage gives us this flexibility, where water is the prominent element. When you look at water, what did you notice? Water assumes the shape of whatever the object is poured into. It adjusts. If there is nothing to contain the water, it flows effortlessly. So the fourth chakra demonstrate the same fluidity. A constantly changing conscious needs constant adjustment. So without flexibility, adjustment is not possible. So our day-to-day life demands constant adjustments to circumstances. Whether it's financial stress, demands at work, family situations, or sickness, each day, one thing or another creates a churn that calls for your attention. At the same time, your spiritual endeavors are inviting new conditions to descend. One pulls you inward and other pulls you outward. It's a lot of change to manage, and you need spiritual flexibility to keep up with it all. The fourth chakra gives you flexibility to adjust and adapt with grace. In fact, you don't adjust consciously anymore. The adjustment happens automatically. You can say that at the fourth chakra, total dependence on the heart with confidence and courage takes hold. So, it's very evident that water, takes the shape of the container. Just like that, the fourth chakra, being the water chakra, enables that flexibility in us. Just like I was saying, we resist change, but if that flexibility is there, the resistance reduces. So that's why whenever you feel resistance, meditate at the fourth chakra. So sometimes meditating on a point also helps to kind of, overcome the condition we are facing, even the opposite condition. So courage, lack of courage, if I am feeling. By meditating on the chakra or cleaning that point chakra, it gives us some courage to face that situation. So like that, we can use these, the reason all these conditions are explained and the things explained is so that we can practically use them, implement them in our day-to-day life, right? See, there are two aspects of life. One is our physical existence, what we call the material life very loosely, but material life means includes all the ups and downs, the day-to-day situations we go through in our life is all material life. And it is very much desirable. It's not that material life is undesirable. And whereas spiritual life is also desirable. So we are sort of, instead of integrating them, we kind of look at them as a separate entities. Oh, I desire for ice cream. And then suddenly, very orthodox spiritual thinkers will say, you should stop the desire of an ice cream. I'll give you an extreme story, okay? So one of the Shankaracharyas, he, goes to a place, just like, Babuji says, I like mushroom soup. And wherever he goes, everyone served him mushroom soup, right? Even if you like something, the overdose of it is also, kind of create aversion. So like this guy said, I like that particular soup you guys have served. And then from then on, people kind of kept on bringing him the same soup. And one evening, he goes into the cowshed. What is in Hindi is called Goshala. And he start rubbing cow dung against his tongue. And the disciples there were stunned. What is he doing? Has he gone mad? So then one of the disciple, picks up some courage and asks him, my dear teacher, what are you doing? Why are you rubbing cow dung against your tongue? He says, it is my fault that I desired that soup. And that desire made all the disciples to bring the same soup to me. But being a very highly spiritually elevated person, how can I desire something? So my desire was bad. That's an extreme, taking it to the extreme. So all life has to be in balance. That's what the teachings of the heartfulness says. If I over desire something, then that is also a problem. And on the other hand, they say we must be approaching the goal as if without that my existence is invaluable. So there I'm creating a desire for this unknown goal. You see, without that desire, you can never approach even the goal. So the desire is very much required. So all these conscious states, if I may call even desire as a conscious state, all these conscious states are there for a reason. But when we have the right understanding and right approach to life, we don't go extreme. Like that saint saying, I desired the soup, so I'm brushing it with the cow dung. How does it uh, how does it resolve your desire when you take some extreme measures like that, right? So when you are in these extremes, you are neither spiritual, you are neither there nor here. And that's what happens when we work on things without understanding. So developing the right understanding is very much essential, right? So when I understand the balance of the material in spiritual life or my physical existence and also my spiritual existence, when we balance these two and integrate them as one, even desiring soup, think of it as the divine gift that you could desire a soup and have it in that remembrance. So that's why this idea of having this flexibility is very, very essential in life. If we lose that flexibility, we become orthodox. So that's why I always say there is no dogma in religion. The dogma is in the people. There's no dogma in the teachings of the religion. Teachings of the religion, when I'm saying I must desire God, doesn't mean I should not desire anything else. But we take it on one side and we become dogmatic. We become fanatic. And that's why Vivekananda says the approach to the religion from a lower conscious state creates fanatism. We become fanatic. But approach to the same religion from a higher consciousness makes it divine and devotion filled. But both the devotion at the lower consciousness, devotion at the higher consciousness is the same, but the clarity understanding makes a lot of difference there. Okay. So that is the idea of flexibility. So we must be flexible. We must be always receiving. We must allow these changing conditions. All this spirituality, what is more important thing about spirituality is this, the ability to show this ability to adjust to the changing conditions. And to have that adjustment, one must reach fourth chakra. And also to have that devotion also brings that flexibility. But devotion, again, we lack flexibility in devotion if we don't have the right understanding and the right courage. So now you understand how much this fourth chakra contributes to our spiritual life. So I'll pause here for any comments, observations, then we can get into meditation.